Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Virtual College Fair presented by Colleges That Change Lives. Thank you for joining us today. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time, and your cameras and microphones are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded. It'll be available within about a week at that same website where you registered for this session. Once again, a reminder, use the Q&A button to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Now I will step out of the way and turn it over to our presenters from Denison University.
Hello, everyone. Welcome today. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Sarah Burns. I am one of the admission counselors here at Denison. I recruit mostly in the Midwest. I'm also a Denison alum, and I'm joined by my colleague Jessie today, who's going to be helping out on the back end doing some Q&A. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey y'all, Jessie Yeager. Like Sarah, Denison alumna, class of 2010. Also a Midwestern recruiter. I work with students who live in the downtown area of Chicago and here in our backyard in Columbus. So I will be off screen answering your Q&A. Feel free to put questions into that area as Sarah's talking, and I will do my best to answer them in real time. Thanks.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully this presentation will be a little bit different than some of the other presentations that you've seen. Keyword is hopefully. There aren't going to be too many facts and figures that I'm going to drop on you during the presentation. Most of what I'm going to be talking to you about are some of the things that really make Denison unique in a sense that you have to hear about them from your admission rep or from someone, a student, someone who actually has been on campus and has seen and felt these things. I guess you could say the more intangible pieces. This year, especially with COVID, the college search has become basically entirely online. So a lot of this information you can find online, but like I said, hopefully some of it will be a little bit different for you. So to get that started, I'll just throw facts at you in the very beginning, and then we can go from there. So what you're going to see on this slide are some of the big data pieces that kind of, outline who Denison is in terms of size of school. You see that we have about 2,300 students. You can see that we come from all 50 states and 56 countries around the world. We do have a student-faculty ratio of 9:1. This means that most of our classes are going to be under 30 to 40 students. I think they actually cap most of the classes at 40. So for us, that's considered a lecture. I know during my time at Denison, my largest class was an astronomy class that I took as a GE credit, and it was about 40 students. After that, I don't think that I had any classes more than about 25. So our classes are definitely pretty small. You get that really personal feeling, the connections with the professors, that community vibe that you're looking for in a small school, especially a small liberal arts colleges like the CTCL colleges. But at the same time, because we are so incredibly diverse, with students coming from all over the place, it feels bigger, and the opportunities that we provide make us feel in some ways like a bigger school. So it's a really good balance between the two. The one thing that I definitely want to make sure you take away from this slide is that Denison is a 4-year residential community. So right smack dab in the middle, that big red square. Basically what that means is that as a Denison student, you would have to live in some kind of campus housing all 4 years. As a first year or a sophomore, you're going to be living in the pretty traditional community style residence halls where you and your roommate might share a bathroom with the whole floor, or there might be a couple bathrooms for the whole floor, but it is that very community style, traditional community style environment that you think of in terms of a dorm room when you think about going to college. About half of our juniors will study abroad at any given point. And so most of our junior students or third-year students are living in suite-style housing. This is basically a suite of rooms with a bathroom, and then you have several people who might be living in that suite of rooms, and you can use them however you want. So when I was a junior, third-year student, I lived in a suite with 5 other women. We had 4 rooms and a bathroom, and we just split them up, doubled up in the rooms, and then we had one common space. So that was a really nice option to kind of expand our living opportunities. And then we do have senior apartments. So eventually you will get to live in an apartment. It's just on campus instead of off campus. And what's exciting for us right now is that we're actually going through a housing renovation master plan. So over the next few years, we do plan on renovating the majority of our dorms. We have already completed several of those buildings. Unfortunately, as with so many things, COVID kind of derailed a little bit of that construction, but we hope to get back on track next summer. And we did just complete construction on a new senior apartment building. So we're very excited because we're trying to keep all of those buildings fresh and updated and clean for the students. And really, you know, that is a big part of it, living in a place that feels nice to be in. But Denison students really do say that this 4-year residential model is one of their favorite things about going to Denison. As an alum, and I'm sure Jesse can attest to this at some point, you just love having that community up on the hill. You know, that campus community is really invaluable, especially when we are such a diverse school. You're really learning and growing from people around you all the time. I would be remiss to not talk about our location. So Denison is a little unique in the fact that we are a small liberal arts college with a small college town around us, but we're about a half an hour from a major metropolitan area. So the little town that Denison is located in is called Granville, Ohio. It was founded in the early 1800s by settlers from Granville, Massachusetts. And it really never lost that New England charm. You walk down the main street. This is a picture of that main street. You walk down and you really do feel very much at home, very calm. You know, they've got restaurants and homemade custard and a little, you know, grocery store. They have farmers markets on the weekends. And I think for Denison students, it's just that little extension of community. You know, I talked a lot about the community on the hill, but then you go down the hill into Granville and you have this little town around you, and the town really embraces Denison and Denison embraces Granville. So a lot of times you have people who live in Granville coming to sporting events or to performances on campus or speakers. And then you have Denison students who are giving back to the community through community service or inviting local elementary school kids to come and do physics experiments or, you know, art projects with them up on the hill. So there's definitely a really good vibe between the people that live in Granville and the students of the college. And I know that the students really appreciate having that extension of community just down the hill from where they are. When you get to Columbus, which, like I said, is about a half an hour away from our campus, the possibilities really just kind of explode. Not only do our students have Columbus for social opportunities, but it's really those professional opportunities that they're seeking out and that they appreciate most about having the 14th largest city in the country just up the road. So there's a ton of major corporations that are actually located between Denison and downtown Columbus. You know, Abercrombie has a headquarters there. JP Morgan Chase actually has 2 massive headquarters located about half an hour from our campus. And Bob Evans has a headquarters. Obviously, there are a lot of major hospital systems and law firms. There's other larger universities as well. So Denison students really have a ton of opportunities to engage professionally with the larger Columbus area. And the best part is that not only are you allowed to bring a car all 4 years, but we're actually on the same side of the city as the airport. So if you're flying into Port Columbus, it's only a 20-minute drive. You don't even have to bother with the hustle and bustle of downtown. You can just shoot straight out to our campus and be right there. So it's actually really well connected and really convenient for Denison students to get back and forth from Columbus and campus. One thing that I think is really important to know about Denison is that we deeply value the relationships that you will make while you're there. I think it goes without saying that you're going to make some of the best friendships of your life. I know my Denison roommate and I lived together all 4 years. She's turning 30 next week, and we're talking about what we're going to do when we're finally able to go see each other again. I was in her wedding. We talk all the time. And I think for any alum, one of the things that they will talk about the most are those friendships and the people that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. You know, I've talked a lot about how diverse Denison is. We have students coming from all across the country and all across the world. And so you really are going to grow and be shaped so much by the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. But there's other types of relationships that you can form while you're in college too, namely the relationships with your faculty in terms of mentoring. Mentoring will teach you so much. Not only can you learn from your professors in terms of life experience, they'll help you with research, possibly help you find an internship, get a job, write you letters of recommendation, whatever it might be. But if you're really interested in the area that they're teaching in the area of their expertise, they're also going to teach you a lot about that area and about possible career opportunities and ways that you can really expand your professional acumen. So I definitely think that those types of mentoring relationships are really important for a variety of reasons. And the Gallup polling organization actually did a study a few years ago where they were asking students, in terms of a mentoring relationship, is that valuable? Is that something that you're really looking for? And overwhelmingly, students were saying that if they had at least one mentoring relationship with a staff member or a faculty member at their institution, overwhelmingly, they had a much higher rate of satisfaction in their four-year college experience. So in that same study, they found that nationally, only about 22% of students reported finding that mentor. At Denison, 92% of students reported that. So clearly you can see we're walking our talk, right? We are really out there from the top down, the president of the university down, interacting with students, getting to know them, and making sure that we're available to students when they need it so that you can really build that strong mentoring relationship. We also have a lot of innovative academic programs. As Denison thinks about adding new majors, we're not just adding things that are going to attract students to the campus, right? I think it'd be really easy to add a business program just because a lot of people want to major in business. But that's not who we are. We really believe in the values of a liberal arts institution and what that can teach you, not only as an academic, but as a broader global citizen. And really, when you're looking at what liberal arts is doing at its core, it's teaching you to be a diverse thinker, someone who can roll with the punches, think outside the box, think critically, and have a wide variety of skills. And that's going to help you in so many ways, but namely, as the job market changes, it's going to help you to be able to shift and grow and adapt for whatever that might bring. And so when we're thinking about adding majors, we're really thinking about programs that are going to offer a wide variety of opportunities for our students to be really diverse job candidates so that they can continue to grow and shift as the job market grows and shifts. So an example of this would be data analytics. Data analytics is one of our newer programs. We were one of the first liberal arts colleges in the country to actually adopt a data analytics program. And as you're combining computer science and mathematics and business, you're becoming a really dynamic problem solver, helping companies learn how to harness data and what they're going to do with it, how they interpret that, and then how they act on it. Similarly, global commerce is one of our newer programs. This program we adopted a couple of years ago, and it's really, I guess you could call it like an international business program, but that's really boiling it down. Basically, students are taking a lot of economics courses. They are taking some business courses, but they're really learning about the economy and the people and the history of a certain region in the world. They're required to study abroad, and they're required to take a language as well. So I think that's giving you the opportunity as a student, if you're interested in business, to not just be focused on the US. This is a global world that we live in, a global market. And so you really do need to be prepared to think about other people and how the United States interacts with other countries, and really tie in different disciplines across the board. So as we think about these programs, we definitely think about opportunities for our students that will continue to allow them to grow and adapt with the growing job market. There's a couple of buildings that I definitely want to talk to you about today. Our Mitchell Athletic Center is very important to us. About 40% of Denison students participate in athletics of some kind. And this building was actually renovated in 2014. So it is brand new and state-of-the-art. You can see off on the right-hand side are the crown jewel of the whole facility, our Olympic-sized swimming pool, I actually learned the other day that the floor of the pool can be raised and lowered. So not only can our swim and dive team utilize it, but other teams can utilize it for practices or for cool downs or exercises, things like that. We do have a separate dive well in addition to the pool. We have weight facilities for all of the varsity athletic teams, and a separate weight facility for just the general student who may not be on a varsity team but just wants to stay in shape. There's lots of classrooms there and multi-purpose spaces. So if you're like me and you're not an athlete, but you just really enjoy, trying new things. I took a lot of Zumba classes while I was there. I know spinning's really popular. And Denison definitely looks at wellness as a whole part of the whole student, or a big part of the whole student, I should say. So it's not just about your physical fitness. It's also about mental well-being, staying on top of your diet and having a well-balanced life. So we definitely take wellness as a whole very seriously, and this is just one facility that is a part of that. So whether you participate in one of our 24 Division III varsity sports, or one of our 48 club sports, or just an intramural sport like myself, or if you just want to go and work out and stay in shape, whatever it might be, there's a ton of opportunities in the Mitchell Center for that. On the other side of the hill and the other spectrum from athletics, we have a brand new Performing Arts Center. The Michael D. Eisner Center for the Performing Arts was opened last August. Unfortunately, we didn't even get a full year's use out of it, thanks COVID. But alas, it is back open this year, and it is absolutely amazing. Michael Eisner is a name some of you may recognize. He is the former CEO of the Disney Corporation, and he's a Denison alum. And his organization donated a pretty significant amount just to have a performing arts center where music, theater, and dance could all be under one roof. His organization believes, just like Denison does, that the performing arts are really important in society, and that we have these amazing programs, so let's have a facility to match that. So they do have state-of-the-art practice spaces, dance studios. There's a really big, beautiful, brand new theater that seats about 450, close to 500 people. And the technology that they installed in this building is absolutely mind-blowing. A lot of the technology that you find in the theater is similar to what you would find on main stages in some of the largest theater communities in the country, like New York or Chicago, for example. There's a recording studio that you can actually reserve to, make music on your own. But I think it says a lot about Denison students and the balance that we really value, that about a third of our students are involved in performing arts outside of their major. So even if you're not going to be majoring in music, theater, or dance, you can still be involved in the theater productions or be a part of one of our 21 different performing groups. And we definitely value being able to do a little bit of everything all at the same time. In terms of our Career Center, as an alum, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I think, I've talked about a lot of the opportunities that you can have while you're at Denison. And this kind of ties into the opportunities you have during your time on the Hill, but then in addition to that, your time after the Hill, right? When you're thinking about where you're going to go to college, a lot of what you're thinking about is like, is the school actually going to prepare me for the real world? And Denison has a model that we call 9 years of professional advising. Basically, what that means is while you're at Denison, you have 4 years of really individualized guidance, working with a career advisor to kind of work through what it is that you want to do. Maybe you know that you want to go to med school. Maybe you know that you want to be a teacher or a lawyer or, whatever, but maybe you don't. Maybe you just have a passion for a certain subject, or, you really love learning and you just need to figure out what to do with that. And so the Career Center, the Knowlton Center, is really going to be there to help you work through that process. And then that 5-year period after you graduate, we want to be there for you too. That's a super tumultuous time in a lot of young grads' lives. You know, you could be in grad school and then moving into the job market, or vice versa. Maybe life throws you a curve and you totally change what it is that you thought you wanted to do. So during that 5-year period, we really want to be there for you so that you can come back and get that same very individualized guidance from our career advisors that you would have had while you're, on the Hill. And I think that the model really speaks for itself. In terms of the data, you can see that 6 months after Denison, over 90% of our alumni are employed full-time, enrolled in grad school, or engaged in a service opportunity such as a Fulbright Award or working for the Peace Corps. Again, going back to that 5-year period, I think this is really where you see Denison students starting to shine. Clearly, they're prepared. 6 months out, almost all of them are employed in grad school or working their way through the world. 5 years out, literally almost 100% of our alumni are employed or in grad school. And so they're prepared. They're getting jobs, they're going on to grad school, but more importantly, almost 100% of them are doing it in the field that they actually want to be in. And I think that that's a really important statistic because it actually shows that not only are Denison students getting that really hands-on guidance, but then 5 years out, they're still continuing to get that guidance and continuing to be prosperous in the area that they want to, pursue, possibly for the rest of their lives. So definitely really important career data to keep in mind. I told you there'd be a couple of data slides, so I think we've actually covered most of them. It's also really important to talk about our application process. So for any seniors who are going through this right now, listen up. Any juniors who are coming up the pipeline, this is probably going to look pretty similar for the next couple of years. Denison is a holistic application institution, which means we are on the Common App. And about half of what we're looking at is going to be your academic qualifications, and the other half is going to be your personal qualifications. So that's what holistic means, right? We're not just looking at the numbers, we're looking at who you are as a person. We really care about whether or not you're going to be a good member of our community and whether or not we feel like the community can help you. So on the academic side, we do what's called committee-based reading, which means that the admission counselor assigned to your area will take a really deep dive into your transcript and really determine, how much you push yourself based on the environment that you had available to you. We see students applying from all different types of high schools, some places where they don't weight grade, some places where they do, some places where they don't even have AP or IB options. So we really want to make sure that based on what you had available to you, you push yourself in that environment. So we will actually recalculate and reweight every student's GPA, and this allows us to operate on a test optional model. I know for students, especially this year, test optional is, a big question mark. What does that mean? Is it really okay to do that? And at least for Denison's purposes, we've been test optional for, I think, 14 years or something like that at this point. So it's been a really long time. It's definitely something that is, business as usual for us. And if you feel like your test scores are an important part of your academic profile, go ahead and send them in. If you didn't get to take the test, if you don't think that they represent you well as a student, just don't submit them, and that's totally fine. We have a very strong process in terms of looking at your academic qualification. On the other side, in terms of personal qualifications, we're really interested in your involvement, your leadership opportunities, definitely quality over quantity there, looking at your essay, your letters of recommendation, and then Denison does use demonstrated interest as a part of our application review process. So we highly recommend that you participate in an interview, but it is optional. You can see our deadlines there. We only offer early decision and regular decision, so it's pretty cut and dry. Either apply by November 15th for ED1 or January 15th for ED2 and regular decision. With both of our early decision rounds, they're exactly the same. It's just a couple different dates for you, different options depending on what your personal timeline looks like. And then with the regular decision, we release all of those notifications the first week of March. So I know I had a young lady who applied regular decision about a week ago, and I was like, just buckle up. You've got a long ride ahead of you, but you will hear back from us, I promise. You can also see that Denison does meet 100% of demonstrated need. And I feel like this is a really important point because I know financial aid is a huge question for a lot of families, especially this year in light of the pandemic. So we require the FAFSA and the CSS profile, but this allows us to take a deeper dive into your family's financial situation or your own unique financial situation so that we can give you the maximum amount of money possible. So we definitely encourage families who know that they won't qualify for any government aid, whether that's because you know you fall outside of that eligibility range or you've had older students that have gone through the process. We definitely encourage you to apply for financial aid at Denison, at least for the first year, just to see how things shake out. Because again, we are definitely doing our best to make Denison as affordable as possible. And then the prerequisite gorgeous campus picture. It is fall up here, so this is pretty similar to what campus looks like right now. Although I think this year we have a few more colors up on the hill. I think we've got a pretty beautiful array. You can see our social media handles, so definitely go check them out. I think there's some pretty nice, beautiful fall pics on the Instagram page. So that is all that I have for the presentation. Definitely time for questions if there are any. Just if you don't have to pop on camera, but if you want to read out any questions, I'm happy to answer those live.
Yeah, Sarah, there was a question about whether or not test scores were needed for aid, and then another about, do we need the CSS profile all 4 years?
Oh, yeah, great question. So we don't need the test scores for aid. If you want to apply for financial aid, it's just the FAFSA and the CSS profile. We don't need them for scholarship either. So every student who applies is eligible for a merit scholarship just through the admission application process. We'll automatically consider you for that. And then if you did want to be considered for additional aid on top of that, the FAFSA and the CSS profile are necessary. And if I'm not mistaken, we only need the FAFSA for all 4 years. We just need that CSS profile that first year. So if something significant changes, obviously we would welcome, an update. But because we're a small institution, we're pretty easily able to work with families individually on those types of things. Yeah.
There's a question about science at Denison. I'm happy to answer, Sarah, give you.
Oh, yeah.
So a question about the science at Denison and support for pre-med. So as many of you know, pre-medicine isn't a really linear program. You can go a lot of different directions to get into pre-medicine at Denison and many places. So you kind of walk 2 paths while you're thinking about going to medical school. One is your academic path at Denison, where you pick a major and you work with your faculty to complete that major. So it's definitely most popular to major in biology, but we have a new major in global health, which I think will be for some pre-medicine students. We have always had students in chemistry, biochemistry, even sociology, anthropology, working towards medical school. And then in another parallel track, you're going to work with our pre-health advisor, Sarah Stasko in the Knowlton Center, to figure out how can you be a competitive applicant for medical school after Denison. So she's going to, the whole career operation is happy to welcome you, like your first semester at Denison. But Sarah especially will try to work with you starting that first semester to start talking about what internships, research, what opportunities do you want to and need to have on your resume by the time you're applying to medical school. So a lot of times it's an internship and research and volunteering. And so Denison provides opportunities for you to do all of those things. Our Summer Scholars Internship Program is probably one of the coolest opportunities we have. Every summer, about 200 students will do their own independent research on campus. They get 10 weeks of free housing and are paid a stipend just shy of $4,000 for their work that summer. So that's something all of our students can do, but especially our pre-med students or our students going to graduate school are really interested in that. And then same with the internships. I had multiple friends of mine who are now physicians who interned with Denison alums who were physicians over the summer. And Sarah mentioned the funding we have for that. There's an alum even in Columbus that has, well, in normal years, has students live in her home and shadow what it means to be a parent and a surgeon. So super cool opportunity to do that. So anyway, I think we help students broadly with the health sciences. We know not everyone is trying to be a doctor, but we do have that path is pretty well worn at Denison, and we're happy to support all of the students who want to apply to medical school, who are in our pre-health kind of curriculum.
Yeah, no, and just to build off of that, Jesse and I think are lucky. We are still recent enough alums that we're not entirely irrelevant to the conversation, but we've been graduated for long enough at this point that we've seen our peers and our friends graduate from medical school and, become physicians and start their careers. And so, we can really speak to the fact anecdotally, because neither of us did that, but we've seen these people that have gone through and that process and done that. And Denison really is preparing students very well for a whole variety of fields, but just specifically related to pre-health. I have a lot of friends who went through med school and are now doctors. And I know Jessie mentioned one of her classmates as well. And I think what's fun about it is that you get a whole variety of different experiences. If you're thinking about going to a really large institution that's research-based, it's very linear, right? And so you really don't have a lot of opportunities to expand what you're doing. At a school like Denison, you can really come here and you could be a biology and women's and gender studies double major with a pre-health concentration and do research, which was actually the first of its kind at a school like ours, in like the gender stereotyping of plants in documents and medical documents, which is crazy. But there's a girl that graduated with me that did that. And now she's an OBGYN in Detroit. I have a friend who graduated with me who was on the football team in a fraternity. He went abroad. He did so many different things. He was bio pre-med, and he got to go to Turkey for the semester. And now he's a surgeon in New York. So it's just cool that you can have these really diverse experiences and kind of build, whatever it is that you want to do, which I think sometimes there's this perception that if you want to do pre-med, you can't really do other things. But really our students are kind of building their own experience. So, yeah.
Another question about needing a car on campus. I don't know about you, Sarah. I did not have a car at Denison until junior year. And that was before the days of rideshare and Uber. So you don't need a car. You're welcome to have one. Parking is not at a premium in Granville. So I think it's over $100, maybe just north of that, to have your car on campus all for the year.
Yeah.
But I found Denison has a lot of transportation options too, like to get to Columbus, any event we have transportation for. There's shuttles to Target, shuttles to the grocery store. I mean, you can walk in Granville itself down the hill. There's a CVS and a grocery store. So you could walk if you wanted to those places. But I wouldn't say you need a car. You're welcome to have one. But people don't have driver's licenses necessarily here.
Yeah, no, I didn't bring mine until my junior year as well, because my sister came to Denison when I was a junior. And so we had shared a car in high school. So we got to share it in college too. So when she got there, that's when the car came. But I had plenty of opportunities if I needed to go to a larger town. There's a couple of larger towns nearby, like 10 or 15 minutes. And there was always someone who could give me a ride. My roommate had a car. So there's definitely a ton of opportunities no matter where you need to go to get around. But I wouldn't say that you need it. I know there is another parking pass option. I think it's only like $15 or something. So that more expensive one is to be able to park really close to your dorm. The less expensive one for like $15 or something like that is a little bit further away at the bottom of the hill, back where our soccer fields are. And so students who maybe are coming from really far away and want to drive to campus at the beginning of the semester can come and park their car and leave it there and then, only use it to get home. So I had a lot of friends who were coming from like Maine or Washington State or something that would have that option. And then they really wouldn't use it all that often. But yeah, I wouldn't say you need it to get around. So All right. See if there's any other questions that trickle in.
Nothing coming in yet. Should we put our in the chat, or I guess you can find our faces on the website if you want to connect to Sarah or I.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really say exactly. I recruit mostly in the Midwest. I have a whole slew of states across the midsection of the country. I think there might be students here from Missouri or maybe some Tennesseans, possibly from the western side of the state there. Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Iowa, possibly. I could go on, but just in terms of the Midwest region, I've got quite a few states. So yeah, and that's something that I appreciated most about Denison. And I don't know, Jesse, we're both from Ohio, but you're from a different part, so you could speak to your own experience. I definitely needed to come out of my shell just enough that Denison feels like home for so many different types of people and for so many different reasons. And so for me to be in this place where I felt very comfortable, but yet was also surrounded by such a diverse group of students, it helped me come out of my shell just enough that I was open to new experiences and learning from these different people from all over. My roommate was from DC, and she's my best friend, but I learned so much from her because I hadn't really had a lot of exposure to, those different types of people growing up. And I think it's even more so than at larger schools where it might be easy to just fall into a very familiar pattern, right? With people who are like you or that make you feel comfortable. But at Denison, we have students from literally everywhere, and you're going to be interacting with them on a day-to-day basis in the residence halls, in your classes. And so you really have no choice but to just grow and diversify yourself as an individual too.
Agreed.
Yeah. But I should note, so I told you my sister also went to Denison. We were 2 years apart. So I was a double major in anthropology, sociology, and Spanish. And she was a double major in biology and Spanish and did not want to come to Denison at all because she wanted to have a totally different experience than me, didn't want to be in a small school and be my little sister again. And she came, and honestly, that is what we value so much about Denison, is that there's so many different opportunities and so many different types of activities that to this day, there are still people that didn't know we were there together. And so she definitely is not just my little sister. She has carved her own path. People know her for who she is. She was involved in Greek life and I was not. Obviously, we had different majors. She's a marine biologist now. So she charted her own path. And I think, it's kind of funny because we reflect on it now that she didn't even want to come there. And now every time alumni weekend rolls around, we're both like, oh, we heart Denison, but it's, for very different reasons. So I think that's really special that you can still come and have your own identity and yet also have a very strong community too.
Okay, nothing else has come in the Q&A.
Quiet out there.
It could be like our own talk show, Jesse and Sarah reminisce on Denison.
Hey, I would love that. I think that'd be great. Yeah, there's a lot to reminisce on. Obviously, we're both big fans, but there's a lot to reminisce on. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we enjoyed chatting. Thanks.
Well, you mentioned a talk show, so I'm going to ask you a question here to help, since we have a couple minutes just to see, and then another one I think just came in. But the question I'm going to ask is just kind of a softball, and you've probably already touched on it a little bit, but some of maybe one or two of your most fun campus traditions that you like, or or even school traditions. Doesn't have to necessarily be campus, though it probably is, but something you want to talk about and expand on a little bit.
Oh man, Jesse, do you have something off because I have a couple, but
I feel like once again it's because I'm an alum that I have this is like one of my favorite traditions is the academic awards convocation, which is not the most I don't know. It's very spirited, but it's about academics. So every spring, the whole student body gets classes canceled for 2 hours on a Friday, and it's a really festive Friday. All the trustees are on campus, all the faculty are in their regalia, and we meet in the chapel on campus. And the president announces the 4 to 8 students who have won the President's Medal for the year, and that is like the highest honor you can win in recognition of your overall contribution to Denison. And it's a surprise who's going to win. And anyway, it's lots of excitement. But I don't know, to an outsider, it might not be that exciting. But even as an alum, I love the convocation. You get to sing the alma mater, and it just get all the Denison feels. So
Big celebration. Yeah.
it is. It's kind of Harry Potter-esque. I mean, minus some elements, but there's lots of regalia and garb.
Minus the wands. You're welcome to bring a wand if you want to. We do have Quidditch as a club sport.
Yeah, true.
Okay, well then I'll go with a couple like fun, quirky ones, I guess, since you went with the academic. I have two. I would say the first one would be Denison Day, which is a big tradition every year. And so it started back, I think, in like the 50s or 60s. And so they used to cancel class. Unfortunately, you do still have to go to class now, but it's the spirit of it has remained. And it's basically just like a big festival across all of campus for the whole day. You know, there's games and people are in a good mood. And it's kind of like a spring send off, like a spring fling. And they always have a surprise musical artist. They've had some I know they had Dave Matthews one year. Way back when it started, they brought Diana Ross and the Supremes into our chapel. So they do have some relatively big names, you know, not always that big, but it's just fun. And it's something that everyone looks forward to every year in the spring. And then the other one is actually, it's kind of strange, but we have the Denison deer that inhabit campus. And I mean deer like the animal, like picture with antlers, you know, and they are like incredibly tame. And I just remember this story, during my freshman orientation, the senior orientation leader was giving, you know, his favorite memory about Denison. And he said the Denison deer. And he's like, yeah, these deer that live on campus, these herds of deer, they're like super tame and they're all over the place. And, you know, you just see them around and it's like babies, like frolicking around in the green spaces. And I grew up in the country, so I'm thinking, yeah, okay, it's a deer, so what? It's no big deal. But we have students coming from, you know, all over, like I said, inner city Chicago and LA, where they may have never seen a deer just like up close and personal. And that was one of these students, and he was like, yeah, it's just something that like you come to our campus and you're going to see a deer. That's just what it is. And it's true. And I literally left that orientation session and there was a deer munching on some clover or something right on the sidewalk. So definitely the Denison deer, Denny deer, they are one of our unofficial mascots. So
yeah. I once had a student ask me if we owned the deer, which we do not.
We do not. No, they own us. I think it's the other way around. They own the campus and we just get to live on it. So
our unofficial nickname is the Denison Venison for all of our furry friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that we always eat them. I don't think we eat them, but
never.
No.
The spirit is there.
We've only got about a minute or two. So if you guys, do you want to wrap up and maybe leave with some closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, we're really glad you could join us today. Thank you so much. Please, like Jesse said, feel free to get our contact information from the website. Either one of us, you know, would be able to help. And definitely know as far as visits and stuff, I know this year is very strange, but we are open for on-campus visits currently. So you can come and take a tour Monday through Friday. They're individual tours, just one family per tour guide. And then if you wanted to do an interview, I know I touched on that earlier, we do have interviews on Saturday mornings in addition to tours, but we're doing a ton of virtual stuff. So if you go to, I think denison.edu/virtual connections, I think is the link. We have a whole list of webinars and virtual interview opportunities and info sessions and everything, but you can come and visit us if you are willing. So we would love to see you on our beautiful campus.
Nice to see you guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the great information about Denison University. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for this session. And it's when they're at the end, when you close this window, there will be a quick link to a quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings, again, where you signed up for this session. Once again, thank you to Sarah and Jesse for presenting today, and thank you all for attending. Have a great rest of your Monday.
Thank you.
Here.
Bye.